Chris Cabrera, local Border Patrol agent, McAllen office. He's also vice president of the National Border Patrol Council, the union, local 3307. Back on the show. Okay, Chris, you initially told us about the what seems to be a flood of immigrants. It still seems to be coming. And from what I gather in my conversation with you, it seems to be coming on the weekend. Several hundreds of folks, a mix of Mexicans and OTMs, other than Mexicans, internationals from Central and South America. They're coming here, I guess, with the expectation that if they flood, they continue to flood our immigration warehouses or the processing centers, that the least dangerous of them will be released into the community, and they are being released into the community. You told me in the recent statement that the capacity for your McAllen processing center, your station, is approximately like 250 people?
About 270, I believe.
270. And on the weekends, where you seem to see the wave of people, you've seen the numbers increase to closer to 500, 400 and change, almost 500 people, right?
Yeah, some days up to 700.
Okay. And, of course, with, as you mentioned, one toilet per every 50 people and stuff like that, that place doesn't smell very well right now.
No, not at all. It's pretty inhumane in there. I wouldn't wish that upon anybody.
How quickly are these folks being processed out of the country, or is their belief coming true for the majority of them that the majority of them are being released into the community?
There are quite a few getting released into the community once they get to camp, or whether it be at our station with a notice to appear.
Is this arbitrary? Is it at random who gets released? They're just they're gambling, hoping to be one of those that gets released into the community?
No, I'm pretty sure they go by a system of with the family unity. If they're a family unit, they come over with their kids or young children, or based on their history, or their criminal history or immigration history.
Are families with children being provided preference where they are being released into the community?
Yes, they are.
Okay, so if you bring kids, chances are that you got a great shot of staying here and dropping anchor and just melting into the community the best you can.
Yes.
Okay, and that's happening right now.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that brings up another topic: is with the lack of staffing we have on the river. On Monday, there was a gentleman that we had in the station that was coming over with his family. Their raft capsized, and he saw his wife and 3 children go under and never came up.
You mentioned lack of staffing. There were no Border Patrol agents to help these folks?
No, well, there was no boats in the water. An area that's usually patrolled, they pulled them off so that they could try and get a grip on the processing. And when these guys went under, there was no one out there.
Oh, I see. There were so many people at the processing center, they called in the boats to put those agents to work in the processing center to process some of these folks out of the country.
Yes.
And no boats means nobody in the water to save the family.
Nobody in the water to save, or nobody in the water to patrol or deter. I mean, granted, probably the best bet would be to have boats out there, or anybody out there to show some type of force so that they decide, hey, we're not even going to try and come across because they're there.
How far back? Yeah, how far back would you say this new wave of illegal immigration, that if you could describe this as a new wave, how far back do we go? A month, 2 months?
I think you go back to mid-February. If you look at the numbers have skyrocketed since February, and we always see an increase every year around this time of year of people coming back in to work. But this number is far greater than it's been in the past. And that's just what we're catching. There's so much out there that has gotten by that nobody knows an exact number on that. But the trails go from 2 inches wide to 4 feet wide in some places. Is
it just us, McAllen, Brownsville, or is it the entire U.S.-Mexican border that's seeing this new wave of immigrants that think they're going to be able to stay here because of various news reports that they've picked up, they've gleaned from Mexican media?
Well, the Rio Grande Valley sector, I believe, is leading the nation in apprehensions right now. And if they're not leading them now, they will be shortly. It's mainly the McAllen, Rio Grande City, Weslaco area that's seeing the spike of what it is. Usually in the past, it's always been the Tucson area. And now it's McAllen that seems to be the hot spot.
Okay. Now, we are familiar, and I know that this is not top of the hour news, but we are familiar going back maybe over a year ago. with the issue of selective enforcement and how higher ups within your branch of law enforcement have been telling their underlings to be more selective, go after the criminals, look for the threats to the country, go after them first, deport those first, and pretty much turned a blind eye to everyone else, including, I guess, families with kids in this case. Now that's one example. And then you got the deferred action, for the children of illegal aliens have been in this country. The president's call for that. Do you think all these headlines have contributed to this new wave, or what is it? What is it? What are these people telling you when they come up to you? Because you were telling me off air, some of them have actually come up to you and tell them, okay, they've told you, okay, I'm here now, process me and let me go.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it has to do with the news that gets out. Not that it's the media's fault. They're just reporting what's out there. It's the message behind it. And if we're releasing, if we're making it easier for them to get over here and basically a get out of jail free card, then of course, they're going to take advantage of that loophole. It's human nature.
Help me to understand, how much of an increase are we talking about? And when you say increase, what number are you referring to when you say there's been an increase going back to mid-February? The numbers have skyrocketed.
I think the numbers February was, and just the McAllen station, 2,700 apprehended. I think in March to date, I think we're at almost 5,000, 5 and some change.
Wow. Okay. Is there a seasonal trend to this?
There's always a seasonal trend, but usually the seasonal trend begins, mid-January, late January. It starts and then it continues up until April.
How do these numbers compare to this time last year?
We're higher this year.
By 50%, by 100%?
I think we're at maybe a little over 50%, 57%, somewhere in there. I don't know the exact number off the top of my head.
Okay.
One of my colleagues was spitting out numbers to me earlier. But yeah, we're significantly higher this year than we were last year. And again, that's just based on what we're catching. There's a whole lot of unpatrolled areas out there, more so than there was last year. So if those areas were patrolled, who knows what the numbers would be like.
Okay. So at your detention center right now, how are things? Have you been able to process out the folks that came in over the weekend?
At our station, yeah, it looks like they're clearing out, gearing up for the weekend again.
And it's always a weekend. Why the weekend?
It just seems to be the trend, I guess. Where these people cross, I guess they're only allowed to cross certain days of the week based on, who's running the show over there on the criminal element on the Mexican side.
Or they just want to put stress on your patrols only on the weekend, thinking that you're not as up to speed or staffed to full capacity, because obviously
what we've seen in the past is usually the narcotic smuggling is usually during the week, and the illegal alien traffic is on the weekend in certain areas, not in all areas, but in certain areas. Usually our busiest area, that's how it is. The cartels allow these guys to come across on the weekends, and Monday through Friday, their area is off limits to them.
Chris Cabrera is a local Border Patrol agent from McAllen. He's with a local union office. He's vice president of the local Border Patrol union. We're talking about an influx in illegal immigration that has been noted by the local Border Patrol office to the tune of doubling the numbers between February and March. The numbers this time, right now, compared to this time last year, seem to be 50+% greater. And, who is being sent back to Mexico or to Central or South America, Chris? Who are the folks that are actually being processed out? Because some of the folks that you're catching are being processed back, right?
Yeah, I think the problem that we're seeing is, in the past we would do what was called a voluntary return, where we would just send them back south, and that was the end of it. Now we're seeming to prosecute everybody that comes through, which kind of puts a backlog on the court system. And then you have people going back to their home country, and then now the Border Patrol, in their infinite wisdom, decided what they were going to do is they catch people over here in say the McAllen area. They're going to fly them over there to San Diego and send them back through San Diego. And then it makes the revolving door a little bit slower. But then at the same time, we're going through this budget crunch, and we're just wasting money sending these people to another part of the country, and San Diego sending their people here, and we're sending ours there.
Okay, so I'm sorry, Chris. I'm trying to understand the very convoluted. It seems to be, from my perspective, seems to be a very convoluted story of what you're having to deal with as far as administratively to properly do your work. Are you telling me that the people who are processed here have to be flown back to Central America or South America?
Yeah,
that they're being sent to, they're being sent.
Your own country is say Brazil.
Yeah.
We're flying you to Brazil.
So they're being sent to San Diego, California, to be processed there for their flight.
No. What's happening? Let's say with a Mexican national, he comes across. We're going to send him back south instead of taking him to the bridge like what's normally done. We'll send him to California by plane, and then they'll take him across the bridge over there.
Why? Why not just send them across the bridge here?
I guess that makes the revolving door a little slower, I guess. But then at the same time, we're transporting their illegals from California over here. And we're sending ours
for them to walk across.
South and,
Okay, for them to cross the border here. Every individual that's sent walking across the bridge back to Mexico, very far away from their point of entry, which probably is representative of how far away they are from their potentially they are from their home.
Yes.
Are they being sent across with a loaf of bread, a bologna sandwich? What are they?
I believe I don't know the exact number, but I believe the government does provide them with some money. I don't think it's a lot, but
what, for bus fare for them to take their bus back home?
Probably enough for them to get a bus ticket back to where they want to go.
So they have no home. They have nowhere to go. They're far away from their home. They just crossed the border back to Mexico. Chances are they're going to jump right back over to the U.S.
Yeah, either they're going to jump right back over to the U.S. or they're going to take that money and get a bus ticket and head back to wherever they're from and try again the next day.
How many repeat offenders are you seeing?
The majority of the people we catch are repeat offenders.
So that's probably a result of people having to come back because they got nowhere else to go. They're just going to take another chance.
Exactly.
Okay. And of all those folks, the ones who are given, again, preference are families.
Yes.
Bring a kid, and chances are you'll be able to stay.
Yes.
Okay. Of the folks that you are catching, how many folks are being sent back to Mexico?
You know what? I wouldn't have the exact numbers on that.
Half of them?
Yeah, probably maybe half.
Maybe. So it's not even reaching half.
Yeah, not even reaching half.
Okay. We can only wish you the best, Chris, and we'll see where we go from here. The staffing issues are unsettling. I got to tell you that much. The fact that the border's not being staffed for patrol on certain days for whatever reason is rather unsettling. We have more Border Patrol agents now than we've ever had before, but what's the use if they're not out there doing their job? And I'd like to know who's calling the shots and why they're not being allowed to patrol.
I agree. I agree with you wholeheartedly. I don't know if
is the union pressing for these answers?
Oh, the union's pressing them. We get stonewalled quite a bit, but that doesn't keep us from continuing our quest for the answers.
Okay, are you in the same boat as other stations all up the border and all the way to California?
As far as answers, yes.
Yeah, you're not getting the answers.
Yeah, we're not getting the answers.
Are staffing issues also being complicated in other sectors of the border?
Yeah, actually, it's nationwide. They're getting ready to cut everybody's hours by 25% due to lack of funding, even though the funding was approved by Congress.
It hasn't come down the pike yet, and yet they're pulling back hours or pulling personnel from the border.
I mean, you have the furlough, which is one thing, which that's a government-wide issue, and then you have the actual Office of Border Patrol cutting our hours by 25%, and it's needless. It's going to affect a lot of agents. It's going to affect the communities as well. There's going to be less Border Patrol agents out there between the ports of entry securing the border, and then you got everything that's going to trickle down to less hours. It's going to be a devastating effect on the local community.
Be careful out there, Chris. We'll keep in touch.
All right. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your time.
Thank you much.